Hi, this is Dana, and on my channel, I speak about spiritual warfare. For those who are watching for the first time my video, this is the seventh video in which I'm guided to talk about certain concepts useful in spiritual fighting because it's such a broad topic and uh, it just so happens that I have a lot of experience in spiritual fighting, as I've been faced with spiritual warfare, not necessarily by my choice. Um, so then I learned a lot throughout my fighting, but it's very broad. So because of this, I always ask guidance from God because God knows exactly what is going on, what is the most useful information to put out there at this particular time. um, Once I'm making the video, as opposed to many other people who are chasing, number of views and likes and stuff like this, I know exactly what kind of um, dark work is being done against me doing uh, my I don't know how to say, working with my gifts and sharing the word of God. I know what kind of dark work is done against my channels, so it doesn't really impress me that there are no not many likes or views as opposed to other creators on YouTube. Because, as I said in another video, I always ask before I work, before I start something, I ask the Akashic Records to take the information. Once I make the video and I upload the video, or I post on Facebook a prophetic writing, I already have a request in made in Akashic record, so that information will reach the person and the people who God and Jesus know that would use that information for the highest good of all. And that includes individuals who need that information, but also includes authorities which would act upon that information. So, as I said before, people can reach my information either by consulting Akashic Records or by viewing my video. So it's a symbolic gesture, exactly like all others in spiritual fighting. So by me uploading or posting information, it's already for me, I am reassured by God always that the information will reach where it's supposed to go. So this is I made these references just for the stupid idiots who keep doing, trying to steal my ideas, and they copycat, do other channels and try to expand on my ideas, whatever. They will not be successful. This is the work of God, and the rewards which I'm entitled to for my work and for my choice to work with my gift and to put out information, the word of God and spiritual advice for people in spiritual fighting, I will receive my reward anyway. So I don't know why I made this note. I guess God guided me to do it. So from all the information that I know, God is. I always ask God if it's something important that I should talk about now, because it's difficult for me to choose always. And God knows exactly, and He always shows me who uses that information. In this video, I will just go through a number of concepts which seem to be useful to people now, as God has guided me. We'll pick it up now. Another topic which we already debate a lot. I already expanded a lot on, but God is guiding me today to speak from a different perspective. Probably somebody still doesn't get it. Or simply that it's important for somebody to know all different facets of this issue. And this is about the bondage breaking. Again, as I said before, you're not supposed to leave the bondage, you're supposed to break the bondage. The DNA activation, the embodiment from divine realm, which helps you to go through that, um, is part of your evolution. It is not your destination. And it's supposed to aim you in, first of all, understanding the bondage, and second of all, ideally to break it, right? This is very important. I already explained, if you choose to leave the bondage, then essentially you become karmic. And why you become karmic? Just because the bondage itself, it's a toxic thing. Obviously, this is why you incarnated, to break it, right? Because it's a toxic thing. So if you choose to leave it, unfortunately, all those karmics, all those toxic peoples who are involved in that bondage will gain power over you. And God is showing me now to be more explicit on it. And I lived through this. This is why you repeat karmic cycles, because this is why you have generational curses. This is what it is. People who didn't understand the bondage didn't break the bondage, and they chose to live it. You understand? So essentially, the bondage is like a curse, like a generational curse. You came to break it. If you choose to leave it, then you're just one of the many who went through it. But it's gonna wear you down. All of the others will gain power over you. And as God is guiding me to show, essentially, is I lived through this. I also repeated karmic cycles until I understood all of this. Um, it's like you have a veil, a hypnotic veil on your eyes, and you do not see, because in that bondage there are certain entities attached to that bondage, which helped creating that bondage. Those entities feed from that bondage, from the toxicity involved in those relations, in those situations, and they will work tirelessly on you to continue to keep you under this hypnotic situation, and I went through it, my own experience in this. And there were individuals whom I've met throughout my life early on, and I had a very bad opinion on them, about them. And then when I met them, due to this bondage breaking, I was supposed to break a bondage with that individual. All of the sudden, I couldn't distinguish. And again, I have the gift of distinguishing energy since I was born. I always lived with it. This is also why I always push toxic people away, because the toxicity, the darkness in them, not only that I see it, so I see more clearly their darkness than themselves, and it's energetically hurting me. So, in spite of all these gifts which I have, and throughout my career and my life have been proven over and over again, I've been predicting situations, and for a long time I thought it's just a matter of intelligence and being hardworking and studying. But later on, I understood that it's a spiritual gift, and not everybody has the same gift. Not everybody feels the same, you know. I mean, like, even in my work, I will encounter many people, because it was in such a way, diplomacy, essentially you encounter a lot of people. There were people whom I would make their presence, just their presence, without talking to me, would make me feel sick instantly, and I would come back to, my normal state if that person will leave. So I tell you all this, you will understand that I have this gift. And even so, when I met that individual in order to break a bondage, so it was the proper time for that bondage to be broken. We were high school colleagues. So I knew that individual for a long time. I couldn't distinguish. I literally couldn't distinguish. Well, of course, those entities which are involved in that bondage, obviously, as I said, work tirelessly on you to force you into being tricked, you know. And this is how you always find excuses for people who do bad things to you, So he was upset. He was harmed when he was a child, he was abandoned and he has abandonment issues. Oh, just some of them are just excuses, believe me. Anyhow, so it's very important to understand that the breaking of the bondage It's a specific timing when God decides that all of the people that were involved in that bondage got to meet each other. So that is the time when God does the DNA activation on you, or you need to learn something, or you need to. There are different ways in which God decides this is the time when you start breaking this bondage, and then everything will shift in your life, and you start seeing things more clearly. But what is important to understand is that if you choose to leave the bondage, it wears you down. It essentially it will destroy you at the end of this. This is a karmic relation. God will bring to you those individuals on your path, because I asked God, why? I asked you if I should enter into a relationship with this individual, and you said yes. Why you said yes? Why? If he's such a creep and he did so much harm to me in so many lifetimes, why didn't you show me from the beginning? And God, of course, explained to me that was the bondage that you are supposed to break. That is the test. I cannot tell you what to do. You are supposed to break it. This is why these bondages, curses, and stuff linger on, because you're supposed to break it. Because when it was created, that particular darkness or entity claimed you, because you were a fool and you fell in love with an individual who was a karmic and who did harm to you. We gave you hints that he's doing harm to you, and you found excuses. Of course, it was somebody who was doing hypnosis on you and black magic on you and stuff. The point is, you came back to break that. Yeah, so it's a test. This is why we didn't tell you. We consider that at that time you had all the tools necessary to break the bondage. This is why we actually said yes, go into this relation, because this is why you came, to break that bondage. But also at that time, I was not enough experienced in my dialogue with the divine, because I was not focused at all actually on spiritual fighting. I was focused on my spirituality with Jesus and God. I was not thinking about spiritual fighting, and I didn't ask the proper questions, because I would ask, should I go into this relationship or not? And God would say yes, but I would never ask, but is this gonna make me happy? Is this a good relation for me? So there are many questions. Jesus taught me afterwards, when I started spiritual fighting, you need to ask different questions. If you ask us, do you want me to help this man? Of course we will say yes, because we want everyone to be helped. But if you ask us, is good for me to help this man? We will tell you, no, he will harm you with the help you give him. you know so there are many nuances, and of course I learned some of the things the hard way. So again, God will guide you to enter in these relations, because this is why you came, to break the bondage. These are the karmics, but you're supposed to meet, supposedly, ideally, is that you develop such a good relation, and both of you are, or all of you, if there are many, become wise enough and spiritual enough in order to break the bondage together. I wrote this in my prophetic writing many times. God doesn't really want us to go through karma, to punishments, and to stuff like this. God would much more prefer that we are wise enough, that we work together to break the bondages. Namely, the one who stole will give back what he stole, and then would apologize, and the other one would accept that gift in order for the bondage to be broken, and an astral letter is being done in which an agreement is done, and everybody discusses what was wrong, what was right, and so on. But that doesn't happen much. So if that doesn't happen, then your purpose is to deliver karma to that individual, and not you see, my neighbor is again very angry because I'm making videos, so she's crying at my dogs. um, so so if you don't understand, if you don't you're not wise enough, all of you, then you will deliver the karma to them if you cannot break it yourself with them. But the point is, you're not going to leave that bondage. The second when you break that bondage, God will close up the toxic relations. Namely, the karmics have access at you energetically based on strings created on that DNA which is being activated. So there are strings between the two of you. So they have, because I asked God, I said, I am very good at detecting energy, I'm cleaning my energy. Why is this man still has access to send me all of this? And God said, because you are still in the cycle that you're breaking the bondage, you know. So there is a set of strings which are embedded in this bondage which you're supposed to break. So you have to keep cutting them. They are being recreated. If both of you would agree not to have those strings and not to project at each other, then you will be fine. But if one of you insists stubbornly on sending projections at you and black magic and so on, as long as that bondage is still valid and that contract is still under evaluation from God, um, and as long as you still fight to break free from that bondage, He will still be able to send to you stuff. But once you broke that bondage, judgment was done, punishment is being enforced, then that karmic situation is being cut off. And even if that individual wants to connect with you, wants to come to you, uh, if you pass all the tests, because you will be tested after you finish the breaking the bondage to make sure that you're not going to recreate it. That individual will come and will pretend he's sorry, will pretend he didn't know. In fact, it's not true, it's an excuse. So there will be more tests to make sure that you're not recreating the same situation with the same individual or with another individual. But once you passed all those tests and punishment was enforced and everything, then God cuts nullifies that contract and cuts those strings. You shouldn't claim somebody who break bondage with you, uh, because when that bondage was nullified by God, you have no rights over that person. It's an illegal claim that you're making. And God precisely showed me to say this today, a few hours ago, as it seems there are some individuals who keep claiming me based on bondages which I broke a long time ago. Those are illegal claims because I broke those bondages by myself, and I requested from God that the connection will be nullified, because I'm not interested to recreate any kind of connection with those individuals. So you cannot claim and you cannot live the same